I opened the envelope with trembling hands and the kind of silence that only exists between one breath and the next. The DNA test said what my heart already feared but my mind refused to believe: the boy was mine. 99.97% probability. His name was Liam, and he was 3 years old. I'd missed his first steps, his first words, and every soft bedtime moment in between. And yet, I thought the worst was over. I thought the hard part was telling my fiancé, now ex, that I had a son I never knew about. That I'd have to show up not just as a man with a past, but as a father with a future. I thought rebuilding would be the hardest part. But that was before I opened the folder my brother left behind. A folder hidden behind 3 levels of encryption and a password only I would recognize: August 19, 1999, the night our cousin Theo died. Jason had never talked about that night. Never even said Theo's name if he could avoid it. And yet, when I typed those numbers in and hit enter, the folder unlocked like a confession cracking open. What I found inside changed everything. But to understand why it hit the way it did, you need to know about Jason. Jason was the kind of guy who could charm his way out of anything. He once talked a cop out of a speeding ticket by complimenting his taste in aftershave. He was reckless and magnetic, the kind of person people gravitated to even as they warned themselves not to. We weren't close. Not really. Not in the way brothers should be. But we were bonded by blood and loss, and sometimes that's all it takes. 4 years ago, he left town. Said he needed a clean slate. I figured he was dodging debt or guilt or both. We didn't talk much after that. Just the occasional message, holiday texts, short check-ins. Then silence. And then Emily, my ex, showed up at my wedding with a child and a secret she claimed Jason knew. That's when it all started unraveling. The encrypted folder was his final breadcrumb. Inside were dozens of files, photos, emails, PDFs, and one unsent draft addressed to me. Nate, if you're reading this, something went wrong. I'm sorry. I should have told you more. But this was never supposed to land on your plate. Maddox knows. I think he's watching me. If something happens, protect Emily. Protect Liam. You're the only person I trust. Don't let him win. Maddox. Jasper Maddox. That name hadn't passed my ears in years, but it rang like a fire alarm. He was a real estate mogul turned local kingpin, the kind of guy who could buy a mayor with pocket change. Jason had worked for him briefly. Said it was a bad fit. Said Maddox was the kind of guy who gets what he wants, no matter who it ruins. I didn't ask questions back then. I should've. Because the files told a different story. Jason had been collecting evidence, quietly, methodically. Bribery, inspections covered up, whistleblower emails. There was even a statement from someone inside Maddox's operation, claiming he knew about illegal building codes and safety risks that had gotten people hurt, maybe even killed. The last modified date on that document? 2 weeks before Jason vanished. That's when the fear set in. Not just fear for Jason. But fear for Liam. For Emily. For the tiny orbit of people suddenly tied to whatever mess Jason had uncovered. And for myself, because somehow, I was next in line. And here's where the guilt comes in. I'd been focused on the DNA test. Focused on what it meant to be a father. I hadn't seen the bigger storm blowing in from behind. I was trying to protect a child without knowing what kind of wolves were circling. Because when Jason disappeared, he didn't just leave behind a folder. He left behind a fuse already burning. And now, I was the one holding the match. The day after I opened that folder, I drove to Jason's last known address, a one-bedroom apartment over a laundromat in a part of town nobody brags about living in. The kind of place where the walls smell like grease and old ambition. The landlord barely looked up when I asked. Jason Keller? I said. He flipped through a clipboard. Hasn't paid rent in 7 weeks. Left his key on the counter. Place is empty. I asked if anyone had come by looking for him. The man shrugged. Couple guys in suits. Said they were from the city. Didn't leave a card. Suits from the city don't chase down freelancers who owe rent. I pushed open the apartment door and stepped inside. It was stripped bare, mattress gone, drawers open, everything hollow like someone had cleared out in a rush. But the weirdest part? It was clean. Jason was many things, but clean wasn't one of them. He once lived with a dead houseplant for 2 years. This place had been wiped down, like someone tried to erase him. Still, I searched. Top to bottom. Drawer by drawer. I found nothing until I checked the closet. Taped to the back wall was a manila envelope. My name was on it. Inside, one photo and a thumb drive. The photo was of a building site, half-built condos, weeds climbing through broken pavement. In the corner, in blue ink, Jason had written, "This is where it started." The thumb drive was encrypted. I didn't have the key, but I knew someone who might. Claire. Yeah. Claire. My almost wife. We hadn't talked since the results came in. She texted me, "I'm glad you know now." That was it. No blame. No promise of more. Just quiet acknowledgement. But Claire was a cybersecurity analyst. Knew encryption like I knew backroads out of town. So I swallowed my pride and showed up at her office the next day. She looked different, more tired than angry, like time had put space between us but hadn't healed everything. She didn't ask questions. Just pointed to a chair and said, "Let's see what your brother left behind." We cracked the encryption after 2 hours. Inside the drive were files, building contracts, zoning permits, internal memos from Maddox's company. But one file stood out, a video. Claire clicked it open, and the screen flickered to life. Jason. Sitting in front of his laptop. Tired. Pale. Eyes darting like he was watching the door even while recording. "If you're watching this," he said, "then either I'm dead, or I've gone off-grid for good." He ran a hand through his hair, like he was trying to stay calm. "I started digging into Maddox 6 months ago. What I found, it's bigger than condos or kickbacks. It's about the foundation. Literal foundation. They're building on top of old waste sites. Land they falsified safety reports for. At least one worker died. 2 others disappeared. I found a guy who was ready to testify." He leaned closer to the screen. His name was Hector Reyes. "Last week, he called me, said he had proof. Said Maddox knew. We set a meeting." Jason looked away for a second. Swallowed. He never showed. The video ended. Claire sat back, her arms crossed. "Your brother was in way over his head," she said. I nodded. "And now I am too." I thanked her and left. I spent the next few days chasing names from the files. Hector Reyes, gone. No address, no phone. The others? Same story. People connected to this project had gone silent, vanished, or suddenly relocated. A pattern was starting to form. Jason didn't just stumble into a scandal. He'd uncovered something worth disappearing for. And if Maddox knew Jason had a kid, or thought that I had the files now, then maybe Jason hadn't vanished voluntarily. Maybe he'd been buried under one of those condos. I was halfway home when I noticed the black SUV. Tailing me. No plates. It stayed 4 car lengths behind. Never got close. But it didn't turn when I did. Not the first, second, or third time. That night, I parked 3 blocks away and walked the rest on foot, ducking behind hedges and side alleys until I was sure I wasn't followed. When I got inside my apartment, I checked the locks 3 times. And then I opened my laptop and started recording. If you're watching this, I said, echoing my brother's voice, something's gone wrong. My name is Nathan Keller. My brother Jason disappeared while investigating Jasper Maddox. I have his files. If I vanish, look there first. And check the condos on Fairfax and 9th. I saved the video and emailed it to 3 people I trust. 2 cops I went to high school with. And Claire. The truth is, I didn't sleep that night. Because when you start seeing shadows where your brother once stood, you don't rest. You prepare. 3 days after I sent that video out, I got a call from someone I didn't expect to hear from, at least, not this soon. Her name was Carla Reyes. Hector's sister. I'd left messages with everyone remotely connected to the names in Jason's files, just hoping one would stick. Carla called from a payphone in South Oakland. Said we couldn't talk over the line. Too risky. We met at a diner that hadn't changed its jukebox since 1978. The kind of place where the vinyl booths were torn and the waitresses had permanent smiles and long memories. Carla was in her early 30s, hair tied back tight, eyes sharper than mine. She looked like someone who'd seen too much and trusted too little, which made her the kind of person I believed right away. She slid into the booth, ordered coffee, then said, "Your brother came to see me." I froze. When? 2 days before he disappeared. That put it exactly 1 week after the date on his last video. He was nervous, she said. Kept watching the door. Said my brother, Hector, had sent him something, and he was trying to confirm it was real. He didn't tell me much, but he asked about the fire. The fire? She nodded. 3 years ago. Abandoned lot on the south side. Official story was kids messing around. But my brother worked that site. Said it wasn't just a fire. Said Maddox had dumped chemicals there years ago and paid off the city to ignore it. She reached into her coat pocket and slid over a flash drive. I don't know what's on it. But Hector left it with me before he disappeared. Told me not to plug it in unless something happened to him. My chest tightened. I hadn't touched my coffee. My hands were cold. Why are you giving this to me? Because Jason said if anything went wrong, his brother would know what to do. She looked at me, hard. So do something. That flash drive sat in my hand like a loaded weapon. I nodded, thanked her, and walked out without finishing my drink. I didn't go home. I went to the library. Public Wi-Fi. Anonymous IP. No trail. What I found on that drive made Jason's folder look like a prelude. Emails. Scans of invoices. A map. But not just any map, an overlay of the entire construction zone Maddox had developed over the last 5 years. Red circles marked voided soil samples. Blue squares marked contractor incidents. And one yellow X, over the exact spot Jason took a photo of and labeled, "This is where it started." I clicked a folder titled Hector_report_final. It was a PDF. 86 pages. Technical, messy, but damning. Testimony from workers. Copies of bribes. Photos of foundation cracks, of support beams warped from substandard materials. It painted a clear picture. Maddox knew his buildings were dangerous. He falsified records to keep inspectors quiet. And Jason? Jason had the whole damn timeline laid out, beginning to end. But one thing still didn't make sense. Why me? Why not the cops? Why not a reporter? Why was Jason counting on me, of all people, to finish this? And then I found the final document. A scanned letter, signed and dated by Jason. I tried. I went to 2 reporters. One vanished. The other retracted everything the next day. The cop I knew wouldn't return my calls. And then I saw his wife on Maddox's payroll. That's when I knew, there's no one left. Just you. You're not part of this world, Nate. That's why you're the only one who might survive telling the truth. I need you to take this to someone who can't be bought. But more than that, I need you to protect Liam. He doesn't know it yet, but this whole thing might land on his shoulders one day. Don't let it. Burn this down while there's still time. And if I'm gone, don't look for me. It means I stayed gone on purpose. But if someone comes asking questions about me, don't answer them. Just run. I sat back, heart hammering. Jason wasn't just trying to expose Maddox. He was trying to disappear. But the kicker came that night. I was home. Lights low. Flash drive backed up on a separate cloud account. I was prepping a summary to send to a journalist friend when someone knocked on my door. Not a cop. Not Emily. Not Claire. A man in a gray jacket. No name. No expression. He handed me a business card with nothing on it but a phone number and a logo, a square with a diagonal slash through it. He said one thing. You're looking in the wrong places. Your brother wasn't running from Maddox. I blinked. What? He just turned. Then added, over his shoulder, he was running from something Jason helped build. I stepped outside, but he was already gone. Just vanished into the night. No car. No footsteps. Nothing. The business card felt cold in my hand. Like it didn't belong in this world. And in that moment, it hit me. This wasn't just a scandal. Wasn't just about real estate or bribes or zoning laws. Jason had been involved in something else. Something buried deeper. Something he helped create, and tried to run from. And now. I was standing exactly where he stood when the ground gave out. I sat at my kitchen table staring at that business card for hours. Just a white square with a diagonal slash through the middle, clean, quiet, clinical. The kind of symbol you only recognize if you're supposed to. I flipped it over a dozen times. No name. No email. Just a number and that cold little line. Eventually, I did the thing I swore I wouldn't. I called it. 3 rings. Then a click. No greeting. Just silence. Hello. I said, voice low. A pause. Then a voice, male, calm, and eerily familiar, though I couldn't place it. You're Jason's brother. Not a question. You gave me a card, I said. Another pause. Then, he told us not to contact you. The line went quiet again, and my blood ran cold. Us. You've accessed the files. Yeah. That was, unwise. I felt my fingers tighten around the phone. You're going to have to be more specific. The voice didn't rise. Didn't fall. It just stayed right in that uncanny, even register. Jason was part of a project. Before Maddox. Before any of this made the papers. What project? The voice ignored me. He broke protocol. Removed files. Left traces. You've inherited more than data, Mr. Keller. You've inherited a promise he failed to keep. I stood up without realizing it. My body just moved. Who are you? You already know who we are. You just don't want to say it out loud. I didn't. Not then. But my mind was spinning. Because as soon as he said the word, project, something clicked. A memory. A long-forgotten night 6 years ago. Jason, on my porch, drunk, paranoid, talking nonsense about private contracts and research that changes everything. I thought he was just high. He'd been on and off stuff for a while. Said he was working a side job, data management for a firm he couldn't name. Something about real-time prediction models. Said it was just data, anonymized, harmless. But there was a strange gleam in his eye when he talked about it. Like he believed in it. Like it mattered. I didn't press, I thought it was just another hustle. You need to stop digging, Nathan. You don't know what you're carrying. And if you send those files to the wrong person, they won't just erase you. They'll rewrite you. I couldn't help it. I laughed, bitter, loud. Rewriting lives? You guys in PR, or science fiction? Silence. Then. You ever wonder how Jason always stayed one step ahead? He didn't run because he was scared. He ran because he knew what was coming. Then the line went dead. I tried calling back. Disconnected. I sat there in the dark, phone buzzing with dead air, wondering if I'd just imagined the whole thing. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. Because Jason didn't vanish after uncovering corruption. He vanished because something was chasing him. And now it had found me. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. Instead, I went back into Jason's folder, every file, every email. Looking for what I missed. And that's when I found it. An audio recording. No label. No title. Just a .wav file tucked behind 3 dummy folders with names like Work Backup and Taxes. Jason's voice. Again. He sounded different. Not scared, exactly. But worn out. Like someone holding a secret too long and forgetting where the truth even started. They told us it was predictive modeling. Just numbers. Just data. They didn't say we'd be feeding real people into the algorithm. They didn't say the forecasts could be used like weapons. Maddox was the front. Just the face. The engine's bigger. It lives behind shell companies and ghost contracts. I thought I could fix it. Thought if I leaked the right things, the right people would step up. But no one came. If you're listening to this, then I failed. And then his voice cracked. I never should have brought Liam into this. I thought giving him my name would protect him. But it made him traceable. My heart stopped. Liam had Jason's last name on his birth certificate. Not mine. Jason wasn't just hiding files. He was hiding Liam. And the implications sat like lead in my stomach. Had Jason known, even then, that someone would come looking? That if the truth ever got out, it wouldn't be him they'd go after, it would be the child. I thought the danger was behind us. That the encrypted folder was the final key. But this? This was the door it unlocked. And what lay on the other side wasn't just scandal or betrayal. It was a system, engineered, well-funded, and willing to erase anyone who asked the wrong questions. And my brother? He didn't just try to stop it. He helped build it. I found the address scribbled on a crumpled receipt tucked into one of Jason's old books, The Old Man and the Sea. He never actually read it, just carried it around like a prop. The address led to a warehouse at the edge of town, half collapsed, surrounded by silence and steel. No markings. Just a rusted keypad. I punched in Jason's go-to code, 081999. The door clicked open. Inside, cold concrete, a flickering light, and a man sitting calmly in the center of the room like he'd been waiting. Late 40s, scar down one side of his face, sharp-eyed. "You're Jason's brother," he said. Not a question. I wasn't told I'd be expected. He gave a small smile. "Jason said you might come. You've inherited what he couldn't carry." I didn't sit. He explained it like a confession that had nothing left to lose. Jason hadn't just discovered the system. He helped build it. The prediction model. The data pipelines. The very engine that Maddox's empire ran on. He believed in it, the man said. Jason helped design the framework. But when they started feeding it real people instead of numbers, that's when he turned. He handed me a folder, full of photos. Liam. Emily. Claire. Me. Different angles. Different days. You think this is about truth, he continued. But it's about legacy. You release what your brother left behind, Liam becomes the face of it all. You bury it, he gets to grow up in peace. It wasn't a threat. It was worse, a cold choice wrapped in logic. I left the folder untouched on the table. Didn't speak. Just walked. Drove for hours with Jason's voice echoing in my head. If he really believed the only way out was through me, then he'd misjudged how heavy this would become. I didn't send the full files. I passed just enough to take Maddox down. Enough for headlines, not for history. The rest? I locked away. Not to protect the guilty. But to protect Liam from carrying a name that had already broken one man. Because sometimes the real cost of truth is the life it interrupts. Emily met me at the park near dusk. Liam was chasing leaves, bundled in a jacket 2 sizes too big. She looked worn, not broken, just quieter than I remembered. We didn't hug. Didn't pretend we were anything but 2 people bound by a boy and a loss. I saw the story, she said. Maddox. The arrest. But Jason's name wasn't mentioned. I nodded. That was on purpose. But Maddox? He was just the gate. Jason found the machine behind it, and the people still running it. She looked at me. You didn't send everything, did you? I shook my head. Just enough for the headlines. Not enough to get Liam hunted. She handed me a letter, Jason's handwriting. If I don't make it out, tell Nathan I'm sorry. He's better than me. He always was. But Liam, he's the only good thing I ever helped make. Don't let my shadows become his inheritance. Give him the light instead. I didn't speak. Just let the words settle. Felt the ache of every missed chance between the lines. Then she added, I filed the paperwork. Birth certificate. Liam carries your name now. That hit harder than I expected. Not because of pride. But because it meant she trusted me, and that Jason did, too, in his own broken way. Later that night, Liam fell asleep in the back seat. I carried him in, tucked him under a blanket Jason once used as a cape. Sat beside him, watching the soft rhythm of his breath, and realized something I hadn't allowed myself to believe until then. I could do this. Not as a replacement. Not as redemption. But as a father. The next morning, I drove to the lake where we scattered Theo's ashes. I brought Jason's last folder. The flash drive. The only copy. Lit a match. Watched it all turn to smoke. Not to forget, but to protect what mattered more. Jason had made his choice. Now it was my turn. Liam's 4th birthday was quiet. Just a few friends. Spider-Man cake. He called me Dad between bites and threw frosting at my shirt. That was the real ending. Not the file. Not the fire. Not even the truth. The ending was a little boy with my eyes and Jason's spirit, laughing like he didn't come from anything broken. And maybe, just maybe, he didn't.